The Lord came and stood there, calling as at other times, "Samuel, Samuel." Then Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." Do you have an Eli in your life? A godly person who can help you navigate through your faith journey? Are you doing life with others? Those that can come alongside of you and speak into your life to give you direction and encouragement and counsel. By being in a group for the story, you have placed yourself in an environment where this kind of a relationship can be formed and can grow. Samuel grew into a man that God used to lead, guide, and direct his people. God was still in charge, but the people wanted things to be different. Actually, what they wanted was a king, just like all the other people had. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. They said to him, "You are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have." I want to be just like everybody else. Those words are never good. Maybe you remember saying them to your parents when you were growing up, or maybe you've heard them from your children. But there's a reason to be different. Usually it's because the crowd is going in the wrong direction. Well, that was the case with Israel. They had an opportunity that was available to no other nation. God Himself would be their leader. But that's not what they wanted. They wanted to be just like everybody else. But when they said this, "Give us a king to lead us," this displeased Samuel. So he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord told him, "Listen to all that the people are saying to you. It is not you they have rejected, but they have rejected me as their king. As they have done this from the day I have brought them out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, so they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but warn them solemnly and let them know what the king who will reign over them will do." Are you willing to follow a different path apart from the crowd? Are you willing to walk and follow closely after God, no matter what others are doing? There's a reason to be different. God gave the people what they asked for, which is rarely a good thing. Samuel's next task was to anoint a leader over Israel. There would be a king for the people. A man by the name of Saul is chosen, who appeared to look like the king type because he was a head taller than everyone else. "Now here's the king you have chosen, the one you asked for. See, the Lord has set a king over you. If you fear the Lord and serve and obey Him and do not rebel against His commands, and if both you and the king who reigns over you follow the Lord your God, good. But if you do not obey the Lord, and if you rebel against His commands, His hands will be against you, as it was against your fathers." Saul starts out well enough, but in a critical moment shows he will be unwilling to follow God's ways. The people were gathered for a battle, and they were awaiting Samuel to come to offer a sacrifice to the Lord. And because of the delay of Samuel, Saul took matters into his own hands, and he offered the sacrifice. The problem was, it was not for kings to do. Sacrifices were only to be offered by the priest. You would think that offering a sacrifice to God would be a good thing, but that's not the issue. The issue is there are our ways to do things, and there's God's way. And what Saul had done was chosen to follow his own way rather than the way of God. "You acted foolishly," Samuel said. "You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, He would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man after His own heart and appointed him leader of His people, because you have not kept the Lord's command." In asking God for a king, the people had rejected God's authority over their life. And they would come to see that the king, unfortunately, would fail them because that wasn't what God had intended. What the people had done was chose to follow their own story rather than God's story. Every day we have to make choices about how we're going to live our lives. And so what we do is we find decisions and we run these decisions through a grid. But generally the grid is our story. We tend to look at life through a very limited perspective, a narrow look. And what we need to do is to get a bigger picture. What we need to do is find out where our story fits and the context of the story.